Now, it's fair to say that I'm not a fan of the car we feature this week. They're slow, they're ugly, and they're French. It is, of course, the 2CV. But I finally met some people who might well have found a decent use to put them to. They race them. Enthusiasts in the UK began racing 2CVs around 11 years ago, and the club now has upwards of 65 members who regularly race in 11 rounds throughout the UK. There are different types of races. Sprints, in which the drivers complete up to 15 laps. Enduros, where up to 2 drivers compete in as many laps as they can over a set time. And there is a yearly 24-hour race, which this year is held at the famous Spa circuit in Belgium. Right, I'm going to have a quick chat with Christian Calendar, who's another of the 2CV racers here at Cadwell Park today. Hi, Christian.
Hiya.
Can you explain to us how your race weekend will pan out?
Well, yesterday we came up testing and we got 3 sessions to set the car up for today's race. This morning we had qualifying. If you didn't make the top 6 in the 2 sessions that went out, you have to go into a qualification race, and that puts you into the championship race. The fastest from the 2 qualifying sessions goes straight into the championship race, and that's where you score your championship points. The attraction of the racing is that it's very competitive, the cars are fairly standard, and it's not an expensive way to get in. And, you know, a good racing car can cost you maybe £2,500, £3,000. When you compare that to, you know, a golf club joining fee, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that everybody can get into, rather than sitting in an armchair saying, oh, I could do better. You know, for a minimal investment, you can get out there and be doing it.
So you've got no aspirations to move on to anything else?
Why would I want to do that? You know, when you see how close the racing is, how competitive it is, you know, you look at other formulas and there's a string of cars strung out right down the pit straight. So they're not racing wheel to wheel, and that to me is what racing's about. It's aimed purely for fun. People don't get into 2CV racing to go on and, you know, make their career in car racing. It's purely for fun.
So how does the championship pan out then? How is it actually structured?
Well, the way the championship works, it's made up of a number of sprint races like we have this weekend, where you do 10 or 12 laps around circuits like Brands Hatch, Silverstone. We're here at Cadwell Park this weekend. And we also do endurance events, which are typically for 2 drivers. And we go to Spa in Belgium in a couple of months' time. We do 2-hour races at Knockhill. It's mixed between the 2, but the real jewel of the crown is the 24-hour race, which happens in Ireland every year.
On the performance front, the engine is boosted to a massive 35 brake horsepower and the suspension lowered by 40mm. Let's see some of the action. Right, let's meet Derek Harnett and find out what this mad sport is all about. Derek,
hi. How
did you get involved in this bizarre form of motorsport?
Well, in Ireland each year there's a 24-hour race held for these 2CVs, and myself and some colleagues wanted to do something different, something that had a challenge, and so we thought about buying a car and entering a 24-hour race. So last year that's what we did, and we had an absolute ball. 2CV racing may look slow, but when you're out there in the cars, 29 other cars out there, it's very, very close racing, and that's what it's all about, close racing.
Christian, that looked a bit fraught and hectic out there.
Yeah, it was a great race. I ended up having a great old dice with Derek Harnett. I think we raced for the full 8 laps, side by side, only made contact once, but yeah, really tight race. It was nip and tuck. I was quicker than him through the twisty bits. He had a bit more power than me up the straights, but yeah, superb, and that's what it's all about.
Now, at the end of the day, I'm no nearer loving the 2CV as a road car, but as a racing machine, it kind of makes a lot of sense. It's cheap, the racing is very competitive, and all the people involved with it love it and have a great deal of fun. What more can you want from a grassroots motorsport than that?
that for this programme of Madder Maxx, I'd be interviewing someone in a lawnmower. For a minute, I thought that Madder Maxx had gone green. But no, this chap that I'll be speaking to has actually let his grass grow long and he spends his Saturday afternoons racing lawnmowers. It may look like a bit of a joke, but this is a serious low-cost motorsport. There are two lawnmower racing organisations in the UK, the British Lawnmower Racing Association and the North West Lawnmower Racing Association. Between them, they publish rules, organise events and award points. There is even a 12-hour race with a Le Mans-style start. So Phil, how did you get into lawnmower racing?
About 10 years ago, someone I knew who lives around the corner from me in Astley. I used to go on a regular basis, so one weekend I had an outdoor, so I went with him and did a bit of marshalling. Just took it from there on, really.
Yeah, now obviously you can't go to your local shop and buy one of these, so how do you actually build it and put the whole thing together?
You've got to have a standard lawnmower that's available to the public, and you've got to take the blades off for obvious reasons.
You don't want any carnage?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. No horror movies. No, so you can modify it to a certain extent, but the overall profile's got to be the same as a lawnmower. I can delve a bit more technical if you want, but it's a bit boring.
So what about the engines? You know, what sort of horsepower have they got?
We're allowed up to 8 horsepower. This is a Kawasaki engine, 8 horsepower. You're not allowed many modifications, so you can't rebore the engine, you can't skim your cylinder head. What you can do is just change the exhaust. So nice loud exhaust there.
So what about speeds on these as well?
It's had a good day, get about 40 miles an hour from it. But on a day like today where we're a bit muddy, there's a lot of wheel spinning, a lot of mud going everywhere. It's really good fun, but I'll probably do about 25 at the most.
Are these actually safe, or depending on what the conditions are like, can they actually be quite, dangerous?
Oh no, they are quite safe. I mean, in the years we've been going, we're going since like the early 80s. We've only had like bruised. I think we've had one broken bowl and a couple of bruises in course, but it's a very safe sport, surprisingly.
Now the track here looks pretty bumpy. What sort of conditions are best for a machine like this?
Well, surprisingly, a day like today where it's nice and wet and muddy. You can see by the tyres they're fairly thick, so coming around the bend here, it's nice and muddy, it just scoots right across and grips up. It's not too bumpy, there's only the main straight there which is quite bumpy, but it's a nice even bump, so it'll jump over and this is nice and flat, so it's a really good track. I'll have a lot of fun.
Now this is a trailer one, but the ones that you actually sit on, would you say that when it gets to weather like this, where it's sort of quite wet and damp, you've sort of got better chances than them?
Yeah. It's more fun as well, because I can slide around the corner and just have a bit of a dabble, I'm not taking it too seriously.
Championship points are awarded for each race. Drivers score 15 points for a win, 14 for a second and 13 for third. On top of that, every driver scores a point for starting and another point for each lap completed. Are you going to take this a step further and sort of go into any other motorsports, or are you really quite happy with doing this?
I think with other motorsports they're quite strict with rules and regulations, and there's a lot of competition with like lawnmower racing. We've got our rules and regulations for safety, but
it's social.
It's social. We want about having a good time, but obviously we've got to be safe, but we want a good time, and that's why I like to stick to it.
At the end of the day, the racing may not have been high speed, but it's certainly been close. So if you fancy spicing up your lawn life, then get your mower out. And is it for me? I think not.
Over the last few weeks we've looked at all different kinds of motorsport here on Madder Maxx, but this week we've come to look at one that's for everybody. From 12-year-old kids in £300 minis to your granddad in a V8 powered monster. Welcome to the world of Autograss racing. Autograss is one of the most popular forms of grassroots motorsport in the country, with over 50 clubs affiliated to NASA, the National Autograss Sports Association. Right, Viv, you're one of the senior officials at this meeting. Can you tell us how people actually qualified for it?
They started their own clubs, they join a local club, then the local club becomes a league, and then they get special races then, qualifying rounds, and the top cars come through. They get allocations for every league, and so many cars come through, and the best 400 cars should be here today.
Now, how much work as an official goes into this kind of meeting for you?
We started planning this one a year and a half ago, so it takes 18 months to plan.
One of the interesting things that struck us is the track. How much work do you actually put into that? Because you would imagine it would get ripped to shreds.
Well, first of all, at Exeter Track, we spent 2 weekends, so 50 people each day here for 2 weekends. Then we roll it, we water it, and we roll it again to get it as hard as possible. And we look after it all the time then.
And how do you look after it during a race meeting?
We got graders and things in, and a big vibrating roller and JCVs, and if there's a hole there, we fill it up and roll it back in again.
And you water the track during the meeting. Why is that?
Well, we water the track to stop the dust. Dust is dangerous. The driver in the back can't see the one in the front. If something does happen, he's got to stop and see him.
What is it about Autograss racing that is so attractive? Because there's a fantastic mood here today.
It's a family sport. Today we got all the men's, but next month we'll have the ladies and the juniors. We'll take an ordinary meeting, the father will drive first, then his wife will drive the ladies, and then the junior goes out.
We're all in the same car?
In the same car.
The sport evolved from a form of racing popular in the 1970s called jalopy. The meetings are staged in unused fields, the track is oval in shape, and the surface is made up of either grass or mud. Right, Eric, you're racing in Class 4 this weekend. How do you size yourself up for something like that?
Well, you have to chill yourself out, and when the lights come on to red, set your revs, get the clutch on the bike, and then when the lights change, you go. In fact, if you see the green light, you've made a bad start. Once the red goes out, you go. And then just flat out, get to the corner, set her up, throw her in, and then boot her all the way around, and just keep your foot down all the time.
And just hope no one's on the inside of you.
Well, yeah, you just have to, it's very close racing, so you have to change position of the car all the time. If you get out in front and away and gone, you can pick your own line, and then you can pull away.
How did you get involved in Autograss?
Oh, it was kids in the village. I've been racing since 1977, and there was about 4 or 5 of us doing it, and we all started and used to go all over the country racing.
And you're here in Class 4. What is it about that particularly appeals?
Well, we used to do Class 1, which is the bottom class and the slower minis, and we love minis so much we moved up into Class 4.
Right, Eric, we've just seen you win your heat. How's the rest of the weekend been going?
I didn't do so well yesterday. I had a 4th in my first heat and a 5th in the second heat, but this morning I went out and won my heat, and I just about scraped into the final in the last position.
So how are you hoping?
Well, I made the final. It's all a lottery now. There's some very good cars out there, but I'll try my best.
Over the years, as you're driving up and down motorways, you'll see hundreds of these little cars being dragged around on trailers. No one knows where they're going, and no one knows what they're doing. Well, today we've come and found out, and I've discovered that autograssing really is British motorsport's best kept secret. The cars are brilliant, the racing's fantastic, and the people are awesome. So the next time you see one going anywhere and you're at a loose end, find out where it's going and follow it, and you will have a fantastic day.